You used to explain yourself. Every time, every room, every doubt they threw at you, you caught it, and you handed it back wrapped in a reason, a justification, a story they didn't even deserve. Not anymore. Something in you broke last night, and it wasn't the kind of breaking that destroys you. It was the kind that rebuilds you from the inside in silence while everyone else was asleep. You didn't post about it. You didn't announce it. You just stopped answering, stopped defending, stopped bleeding out your reasons to people who never bled for you. And that's when it happened. That's when the room went cold. Because the moment you stop explaining yourself, you become unreadable. And unreadable people are dangerous. Not because they're hiding something evil, but because nobody can predict them anymore. Think about it. Every person who's ever tried to control you did it the same way. They asked you, why? Why are you like this? Why did you do that? Why don't you just? And you answered. Every single time you answered, you handed them the blueprint to your own mind. Not this time. This time when they ask why, you say nothing. And that nothing is louder than every explanation you've ever given in your life. Somewhere right now, someone is waiting for your reaction. They've built an entire narrative around getting it. They need you to explain, to defend, to justify, because your explanation is their proof. Proof that they still have leverage. Proof that you still care what they think. Don't give it to them. The second you go quiet, their whole plan collapses. You can feel it, can't you? That shift. That tension in the air when someone expects a fight and gets a wall instead. They don't know what to do with a wall. Walls don't argue. Walls don't cry. Walls don't perform for an audience that was never going to clap for them anyway. You are becoming a wall. And walls don't explain why they're standing. They just stand. Let's go back. Let's go back to every time you over-explained your existence to people who didn't even bother to listen. The job you didn't get, you explained it. The relationship that ended, you explained it. The way you look, the way you talk, the way you move through a room like you're constantly apologizing for taking up space. You explained all of it. And what did it get you? Nothing. It got you nothing. Because explanations don't buy respect. Explanations rent it, temporarily, and the moment you stop paying, they take it back. You're done renting. From this second forward, you own your silence. And ownership doesn't ask permission. Here's the part nobody tells you. The part that feels like a secret smuggled out of a locked room. People don't actually want your explanation. They want your reaction. They want to see the crack. They want to see you scramble for words, stumble over justifications, prove that their opinion of you still has weight. The second you deny them that reaction, you take away the only thing they were ever really after. And that's when the fear starts. Not yours. Theirs. Because a person who doesn't explain themselves is a person who doesn't need them. And people cannot stand being unnecessary. It terrifies them. It unravels something primal in their brain. The fear of irrelevance. You are becoming irrelevant to their approval. And that is the most dangerous thing you can become in their eyes. Let them panic. You're not here to manage their comfort anymore. You're not the translator for your own existence. You stop being the narrator of a story they get to edit. Picture the version of you 6 months from now. Silent, focused, unshaken. Someone brings up the old you, the one who used to explain, apologize, justify, and this new version just looks at them. No response. No defense. Because why would you defend a person you no longer are? That's the moment they realize they lost their grip on you completely. You didn't fight them for it. You didn't scream for it. You just went quiet. And the silence did what 1,000 arguments never could. Somewhere along the way, you were taught that silence was weakness. That if you didn't explain, people would assume the worst. That if you didn't defend yourself, the story would be written without you. That was the lie. That was the leash. Silence isn't the absence of a voice. Silence is a voice they can't interrupt. Every time you stayed quiet and let them assume whatever they wanted, you were training yourself to survive without their validation. And survival without validation. That's the birthplace of real power. Real power doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need a caption. It doesn't need 15 people nodding along to confirm it's real. Real power just is. You're not angry anymore. That's the part that confuses them the most. They expected anger. Anger they can use. Anger gives them a villain to point at, a reaction to screenshot, a story to spread. But you're not angry. You're just done. Done translating your decisions into language soft enough for their comfort. Done shrinking your choices down into bite-sized justifications so they don't have to stretch their understanding of you. If they can't stretch to understand you, that's not your defect. That's their limitation. Let it stay theirs. There's a specific kind of quiet that terrifies people. The quiet of someone who used to need them and suddenly doesn't. Not the loud kind of leaving. Not the dramatic exit. Just absence. A slow fade where you stop showing up to explain. Stop showing up to convince. Stop showing up at all in the way they expected. That fade is the loudest thing you'll ever do to them. And here's the part that will sit with you long after this ends. The people who demand the most explanation from you are usually the ones who've given you the least understanding in return. Notice that. Notice how the ones who claim to love you the most are often the ones interrogating you the hardest, while the ones who actually respect you never ask for a single reason at all. Respect doesn't interrogate. Respect observes. So when someone demands you explain yourself and you feel that old instinct rising, the one that wants to soften the blow, wants to make them feel okay about your choices, stop. Right there. Stop. You don't owe comfort to people who never gave you any. This is where the transformation actually happens, not in some dramatic movie moment, not in a mirror monologue with music swelling in the background. It happens in the small, unglamorous second where someone asks, "Why?" and you simply don't answer. That's it. That's the whole revolution. No speech. No confrontation. No mic drop moment. Just absence where an explanation used to live. And absence, when it's intentional, becomes a weapon sharper than anything you could have said out loud. Let's talk about the ones who left when you stopped explaining. The friends who only stuck around for the drama of your justifications. The people who fed off your need to be understood by them specifically. When you stopped feeding that need, they starved. And when they starved, they left. Let them. You were never losing people. You were losing audience members. There's a difference. Audience members watch. They consume. They take from the show and give nothing back except attention. And attention isn't loyalty. People who actually matter don't need you to perform your reasoning for them. They just need you to exist, consistently, without apology. So somewhere between the moment you stopped explaining and the moment you started truly living, something shifted in how people approached you. They got softer. Not because they suddenly respected you more out of kindness, but because unpredictable. Unexplained people demand a different kind of respect, the kind rooted in uncertainty, the kind rooted in the fact that they can no longer read your next move. You became the variable they couldn't calculate. And in every system, social, professional, personal, the variable nobody can calculate is the one that controls the room. Let that sink in. You control the room now. Not because you're louder, not because you're more aggressive, but because you stopped handing out the manual to your own mind. Every explanation you ever gave was a page torn out of that manual and handed to someone who didn't earn the right to read it. No more pages. No more manual. No more free access to the inner workings of who you are. If they want to understand you now, they'll have to earn it through actual presence, actual time, actual proof that they're not just here for the story, but here for you. Most people won't make that cut, and that's fine. That's more than fine. That's the filter finally working the way it should have from the beginning. You'll notice something else too. The less you explain, the less you even feel the need to explain to yourself. That inner monologue, the one constantly rehearsing justifications for your own choices, replaying arguments you never even had out loud, it starts to quiet down too. Because the habit of explaining outward was bleeding into the habit of interrogating yourself inward. And when you cut off one, the other starts healing too. That's the real prize here. Not just controlling how others see you, controlling how relentlessly you audit yourself for crimes you never committed. You are not on trial. You stopped being on trial the moment you stopped showing up to testify. Let the questions come. Let the assumptions come. Let the whispers, the theories, the wrong conclusions people draw about your silence. Let all of it come. None of it requires your response. Somewhere, right now, there's a version of you from a year ago who would have spiraled at the thought of being misunderstood, who would have stayed up drafting the perfect explanation, rehearsing it, softening it, trying to make it land just right so nobody could be upset with you. That version is gone. And you didn't kill them with anger. You killed them with silence. That's the version of growth nobody claps for. Nobody makes a highlight reel out of the moment you didn't respond to a text. Nobody celebrates the day you let a rumor sit uncorrected because correcting it wasn't worth your energy. But that moment, that exact moment, is where the entire shift took place. From this point forward, you are not required to make sense to people who never tried to understand you in the first place. You are not required to package your pain, your decisions, your growth, into something digestible for an audience that was never actually rooting for you. Let them misread you. Let them get it wrong. Let them build entire theories about who you are based on fragments they picked up secondhand. You know the truth. That's the only explanation you owe, and you don't even owe it out loud. So the next time that question comes, the why, they think they're entitled to, let the silence answer for you. Let your results answer for you. Let time answer for you. Because the ones who need an explanation right now won't need one later. They'll just watch. And watching, in the end, is the only apology you were ever going to give them anyway. You stopped explaining yourself. And in that exact moment, quiet, unannounced, unwitnessed, you became someone they can no longer reach. Stay there. Don't go back for them.